The genetic pathways that dictate our growth and development is an amazingly complicated web of interconnected processes and switches. Despite the complexity, a tiny difference in just one gene can separate a healthy person from someone with a life-threatening disorder. Let's learn more about single-gene disorders, also called monogenic disorders. A monogenic disorder is a genetic disease caused by small-scale genetic differences that cause the malfunction of a single gene. Many diseases result from such genetic differences. Among the best-known monogenic disorders are cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and Fragile X syndrome. Single-gene disorders are not very common and are usually inherited, although the inheritance patterns of the diseases differ in several important ways. Some genetic diseases are autosomal dominant. In these diseases, only one altered gene needs to be present. Others are autosomal recessive. In these cases, two altered genes are needed to express the disorder. And others are X-linked. The defective gene is recessive and are found on the X chromosome. Cystic fibrosis is a single-cell disorder that is the result of a mutation in the CFTR gene. CFTR is a protein that transports chloride into and out of cells. This is an important process for maintaining the balance of chloride ions in cells. Individuals who have the cystic fibrosis disorder don't make the protein, or their CFTR protein doesn't function normally. This malfunction of the CFTR protein leads to excessive production of thick mucus in the lungs. The mucus clogs the lungs and causes infections. Individuals with cystic fibrosis have severe breathing problems, chronic coughing, wheezing, and inflammation. Buildup of mucus leads to infections that cause permanent lung damage. Cystic fibrosis was considered a fatal childhood disease. Now, with better treatment and management, people with the disorder can live into adulthood. Cystic fibrosis is most common in Caucasians. 1 in 2,500 to 3,500 Caucasians have cystic fibrosis, while only 1 in 17,000 African Americans have the disorder. Muscular dystrophies are a group of single-cell genetic disorders characterized by muscle weakness and loss of muscle tissue. An X-linked mutation in the DMD gene causes the Duchenne and Becker forms of muscular dystrophy, mostly in males. The DMD gene is responsible for providing instructions to make dystrophin, a protein in skeletal and cardiac muscle. The normal form of dystrophin regulates the activity of plasma membrane proteins, strengthening muscle fibers and preventing injury during the contraction cycle. Muscle cells that lack dystrophin are damaged with each contraction. The damaged fibers are weakened over time and eventually atrophy, leading to muscle weakness and heart problems. People with the disorder suffer from progressive muscle weakness and are typically wheelchair-dependent by the time they reach adolescence. They also develop life-threatening heart problems, notably enlargement of the heart. The disorder occurs in 1 in 5,600 births. Life expectancy depends on the severity of the disorder. Fragile X syndrome is a single-gene disorder that results in intellectual disabilities, including learning disabilities and cognitive impairment. Fragile X syndrome is caused by various types of mutations in the FMR1 gene. The FMR1 gene makes FMRP, a protein that plays a role in the development of synapses in the brain. In Fragile X syndrome, the mutated gene makes a distorted form of the FMRP protein. The mutation that causes Fragile X syndrome is a deletion or expansion of a repeated sequence of DNA of the FMR1 gene on the X chromosome. One type of FMR1 mutation results in the wrong base sequence and hence the incorrect amino acid sequence in the protein. Another mutation of the FMR1 gene is expansion of the sequence in the promoter region. This sequence usually starts the protein building process, but in the mutated form it repeats too many times and inactivates the gene. Symptoms of Fragile X syndrome include delayed speech and language development by the age of 2, with mild to moderate intellectual disability. Children with Fragile X syndrome often register on the autism spectrum and have ADD and ADHD. Physical signs include flat feet, low muscle tone, long face, and large forehead or ears with a prominent jaw. Fragile X syndrome is the most common inherited intellectual disability in boys, appearing in 1 in 4,000 male births in the U.S., compared with 1 in 8,000 female births. Although genetic disorders are rare from an epidemiological standpoint, they can be devastating to the people who are affected. Better understanding of the causes and effects of genetic diseases will help provide better therapies and improved quality of life for the patients.